Hello, everyone. This is Mitchell, and it's time for part four of my childhood memories in Brooklyn, New York. And yesterday I spoke about my grandparents on my dad's side, and today I'm going to speak about my grandparents on my mother's side, David, and my grandpa David, and my grandma Anna. And that photo is right over here. You can take a look. It's a handsome couple. Well, first, I'd like to talk about my grandmother, Anna. She was born in Odessa, Russia, which I believe now is in the Ukraine. They lived in the Jewish quarter of Odessa. And then she was in a large family, and but in their house, they had a secret hidden cellar below below the main level of the house, and that was for a good reason, because every once in a while the crazy Cossacks, these drunken rioters, criminals would ride into town, go to the Jewish quarter and steal and loot and beat up anyone who were in the way. So they had to take shelter there. That was their life. Well, one time the Cossacks came in large numbers, and this time it was different. They didn't come just to steal and loot. They came for blood. They came to kill. They came to rape. They came to burn. And they actually occupied part of the Jewish quarter for several days. They came into my grandmother's house as a little child with all the family. They were huddled in the basement, just praying to God that the Cossacks wouldn't find the secret entrance, because then they would be killed. But the Cossacks stayed for days, maybe a week, maybe more. They were probably running out of supplies. It was fighting. They were fighting for life. It was a life and death situation. Finally, the Cossacks left, and they came up to look at the shambles of what had been their house. And they looked outside and they saw the burning houses of the Jewish families. And the decision was made: we have to leave Russia. We have to go to America and start a new life. So my great-grandparents and their children, including my grandmother, they left on a long journey all the way from Odessa to Hamburg, Germany by land, a land route, where they would get a boat for America. And this was, if you look on the map, you'd see how long this distance was. And it was a long, treacherous trip. And on the way, my grandma, she was just a child, but her little sister died on the way. And finally, they made it to Hamburg, and they made it to America to start their new life. And that's where in America she met David, married him, had 3 children. My first one was my mom, Beverly. The second one, my mom, who's the most amazing person on earth as far as I'm concerned, and intelligent. And then next is my Uncle Jerry, who became a world-famous urologist, world-renowned. And next was my Uncle Mark Siegel, who became a successful in politics and also made it to the White House, actually worked as an aide to Jimmy Carter when he was president. Actually, Uncle Mark was only 1 year, 11 months older than me. So actually in my childhood, me and him were best of friends. And actually we were like brothers. But back to Grandma Anna. She was a character. I mean, everyone who knew her would agree. She was an outside the box type of person. She was eccentric. She was difficult. She was controversial, but she's the most talked about member of my family, I think there will ever be. For myself as a little boy, Grandma Anna was perfect for me. I have only the most fond memories, because she was always there for me in my time of need. I remember as a child, very young child, I had chicken pox and measles, terrible cases, pimples itching all over my body. It was terrible. I was in such agony. My mom tried her best but couldn't soothe me. And so Grandma Anna was called. And where my mom had been dipping the cotton with a little ointment to put on my skin, my grandmother took the whole bottle and poured it over me and rubbed, and all my itching went away. So I'll never forget Grandma Anna. Also, when I had difficult days or problems or trouble, she would go to the cemetery and go to the graves of her ancestors and pray for me. I know she's a little bit different, But I don't know what she prayed for, but it always seemed to work out. Now, my grandpa David, as I mentioned to you briefly yesterday, he was also an indentured servant. He came from Bessarabia, which is a part of Romania, and now I believe it's a part of Moldavia, in a little country in Europe, Eastern Europe. So he had, again, such a rough childhood of living with a wealthier family and working as a slave day and night. And one time his sister, he was talking, he mentioned to us later in life that his sister died when he was young. His sister was actually crushed by a cow. And we asked him, like, how did that affect him? And he just shrugged his shoulders and he said, of course I miss her dearly, but those days, death was a part of life. But he came to America and he was a working class man. He worked incredibly hard to support his family all his life. He had several jobs, but finally he had the job of being a seltzer man. He delivered seltzer on his large truck, and he had deliveries all over Brooklyn and Queens. And what incredibly hard work he did. First of all, I have to explain what seltzer is, if those don't know. Seltzer is highly carbonated, super highly pressurized drinking water. It had so much pressure that you had to have these heavy glass bottles imported all the way from Czechoslovakia, these blue bottles. And only that can contain the pressure. Even then, sometimes the bottles exploded. But just one bottle was so heavy. My grandpa Dave would carry 2 cases, in wooden cases, 2 cases, sometimes up 3-4 flights of stairs to deliver this. He worked so hard for so little money all his life. But he did it so his children would be successful. And my 2 uncles, they sometimes worked to help him on the truck, and it's bad memories for them because the work was so hard and so excruciating that they couldn't take it and wanted to run away. But as a little boy, my grandfather took me twice on his truck with him. And for me, this was the greatest honor ever, to be with my grandfather delivering seltzer. Now, every time I did it, I would come home and the 2 times, and I would come home and I couldn't get out of bed the next day. In fact, my body was sore for like 2 weeks afterwards. But still, I didn't care. I joined with my grandfather, and my grandfather was just so amazing. He worked so incredibly hard, and he loved me so much, but he couldn't express it with words. He expressed it 2 ways. He expressed it with a handshake. He would shake my hands, and my hand, to the point my hand was falling off. He was so incredibly strong. Imagine he carried 2 cases upstairs for like 20, 30, 40 years. And then the second way was by giving me a bear hug. He couldn't express his love with words. That's how he expressed it. And I remember driving in the truck, and this truck was like a broken down old truck, and we'd going to Flushing, Queens. We'd go on the Van Wyck Expressway. The speed limit is 65 miles an hour, and he would go, his truck could only do 35 miles an hour. And I was always, oh my God, and cars were honking at us, people were yelling at us, screaming at us, we were afraid the police were going to come, but my grandfather was unperturbed. He was amazing. And just interestingly, about 10 days ago, I had a dream, and I saw my grandfather Dave, and he came over to me, and he was dressed just in those overalls that he wore when he delivered the seltzer. And he came over to me, and just like he did of old days, he gave me this huge bear hug. He squeezed me so hard. Then he actually spoke to me, and he said how he loved me so much, and that he was so happy that he respected me for being there and helping working class people and helping poor people and helping people in need and helping special need people. He was so proud of me, and he loved me so much. So as you can see, I was very fortunate to be so deeply loved by all my 4 grandparents. Thank you.